Good morning. We are here doing another visual podcast of In Your Neighborhood. Next to me is Roy Alexander, the Vice President of Marketing and Sales of VisionNet. And then we have Michelle Dahl next to him, and she is an account executive here at VisionNet. We're kind of going to go over the history of VisionNet, what products they currently offer, and what their future brings for them. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Roy, to kind of start us off.
Right. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate having us. So VisionNet is a 29-year-old telecommunications services company. It's a pretty neat story of how we got started. 9 rural telephone companies in the state of Montana were struggling with rural schools keeping their accreditation. So
wow.
Small schools, little towns, everybody can't have a Spanish teacher or a French teacher, and they were struggling with that. So they created VisionNet to build them a video conferencing network. And so we were successful at that, and the neat part about it for us is that we were the first privately built video conferencing network in the country, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And so again, this is going back way before the internet or anything else.
Okay.
And so as more advanced telecommunication services started to be introduced into the marketplace, our shareholding groups leaned on us to kind of fill the gaps until their teams got up to speed. And so as that progressed and the internet became a real thing, we became the for-profit arm for a lot of the co-op shareholders that we have.
Okay.
And so in a nutshell, we've been doing that for 29 years, both on the enterprise side, so business-to-business sales, and then carrier-to-carrier sales. We have a group based out of Billings that handles that.
That is amazing. So education was the primary driver of developing VisionNet for conferencing needs for educating children.
And we did.
That is a very positive thing to shine a light on the community to let them know that that's why VisionNet exists.
It's wonderful because it certainly touched the vast majority of our client base here in the state of Montana. Whether their schools, their children went to those schools, or whether somebody worked there, and for a long time, people would refer to video conferencing as vision netting.
Okay.
Because it was early.
They almost rebranded it, right?
Yeah, they did.
That should be a new tagline for you.
It was great then, but as we've progressed to other services, we've had a lot of work to do to kind of turn that around and be seen as the carrier enterprise telecommunications services company that we are today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So business to business, you were talking about hotels earlier this morning.
Yeah.
Can you guys kind of elaborate on what type of services you offer to those type of businesses?
Of course. So in the hospitality vertical, what we offer typically is managed network and managed wireless access. So when you go into a hotel and you get on their Wi-Fi, it's provided by a company like Vision.
Okay.
We do that for a number of businesses, a number of locations, regionally, certainly in the state, but regionally, we've recently spread out to 17 states. Our MPLS network touches, and then we have direct connections to the big internet areas of Seattle and Chicago and Denver, where we carry internet traffic out, and that's where you connect to. In layman's terms, that's where you connect to the rest of the world.
Oh, that is amazing. So as the community has utilized hotel internet service, you may be using VisionNet's network and not even know it.
Well, let's hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Michelle, what other type of products and services does VisionNet offer? What type of things can business-to-business sales for VisionNet offer?
So besides internet connectivity, managed Wi-Fi services, VoIP phone systems, and a large array of cybersecurity services.
Gotcha.
So firewalls, RMM, which is remote monitoring and management, on laptops and servers, backups on
data.
Yes, backups on data. Trying to think of what else we.
I think the managed network side and the managed Wi-Fi side, and why that's important to a lot of companies, is that their IT teams are usually fairly small compared to the size of locations and employees they have. They're not an IT company. So they hire us, and then we make sure that their internal connectivity and systems work so that they can progress their business. It's a lot of times, and it's a natural progression. You build a business and you grow, and as you grow, the guy that knew computers best becomes your IT guy.
Right.
And that works to a certain extent. When it starts to break down is when you get to a certain point of complexity or a certain point of numbers that a company like us makes sense to just take care of that for you. And so we build it on direction from our clients. We work with them of, hey, what do you want to see? How do you want to see it? How do these things work? what needs to connect to what. It's a fairly complex setup, but we've been doing it a long time, and our technical folks are incredibly intelligent in the way these things go together.
So speaking of data security, that's always a hot topic for all of the customers across the United States,
Absolutely.
and especially in Montana. What type of firewalls or what type of things can they utilize your services for to protect themselves? Is it, I mean, what is the biggest kind of cyber attack that a customer of your caliber would have?
Our approach for the client side, ours is a little bit different because we run enormous networks for VisionNet internally.
Okay.
So the way that they look at things is a little bit different than we would for let's say, your business or someone else's business. On the business side, we follow a layered approach.
Okay.
So you've got a firewall on the edge.
Okay.
And then behind that, you've got endpoint security. You've got what's called an MDR. And so what that does is your antivirus on your PC.
Okay.
It looks at all the PCs together, and if it sees patterns, it alerts us that there's something that I'm not seeing necessarily as a threat, but I don't like what's going on.
Okay.
And this is all software based.
Okay.
And so all that's packaged together, and that gives you about the best stance that you can. Outside of the edge of your business, on the larger network side, we run what's called DDoS mitigation. So DDoS is distributed denial of service attacks.
Okay.
And so a machine somewhere in the world sends an enormous amount of traffic to a machine on a network, and it just bogs it down. It makes things not work. We've got systems and personnel in place to watch that, and as they come in, we can then block that traffic, and what it does is it allows you to continue doing business.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Simple as that. They're going to be a little upset at me that I simplified it so much.
But
because
safe,
there's a lot more to it.
secure-
No, there's a lot more to it than that.
right.
But for conversational sake, that's the stance that we take, and thankfully, we've got the right people in place and the right platforms in place, and we do a good job.
So that business to business, safe, secure, they can feel comfortable when you guys are in place with their
Absolutely.
business.
And one of the highlights of VisionNet is we have a 24/7, 365-day-a-year network operations center.
Okay.
And that is located right here in Great Falls at our headquarters. Okay.
See, that's probably a good
in the
thing for the
building that
community
we're
to know
in,
because they probably don't realize that.
you'll get a tour of here at some point, Todd. And so if anyone has an issue or a question, or they can't do something on their computer and they have a RMM on it, they just make a phone call or send an email and connect with the Network Operations Center, and then they can remote onto.
And it's a live person right here in Great Falls.
Right here in Great Falls. You're
Montana.
not talking to somebody from India.
Right.
Yep. Correct.
So with that being said, how many employees do you guys have? Do you have an idea that are local residents? It's always supporting local. So
Collectively
absolutely.
in Great Falls and Billings and Missoula and Helena, our headcount currently is about 70, 72.
wow. Okay.
We fluctuate between that and let's say 80. It just really depends.
So it's just amazing to me to find these best kept secrets around our community, because you just don't realize when you drive down the street what's going on in that
Right.
building. And those that work here probably just assume everybody knows, but that's not the case. So how about future? What about the future? What do you want? What is VisionNet going towards, I guess? Is there some 3 and 5 year plans that are in place? Or?
Absolutely. We certainly continue to expand our presence in the enterprise and business to business world, as well as the carrier side. So recently we turned up AI-enabled wireless and managed LAN.
Oh, nice.
And so what that means is artificial
that on the
intelligence
website.
sits on top of the platforms that we have, and both makes changes to it to optimize it from an endpoint or a user standpoint versus a network standpoint. And 2, it makes the ability for our techs to diagnose and correct things much, much faster. And so that's one vein. On the other side, we continue to expand both regionally, and then the goal is over the next 3, 5, 7 years is to become a national carrier.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That is excellent. And AI is becoming so important. There's so much topics on that and what's taking place.
It's true. I think that we're uniquely positioned both to use it, but also we recently acquired a company, I say recently, a year and a half or so ago, that has facilities and virtual-based data centers.
Okay.
And so, and what you've got to think about with AI, those computers have to live somewhere. And so we also have the facilities to house those computers in a secure location with SOC 1 Type 2 compliance and all of the things that you need to make sure the big servers are safe and secure. So I feel like we're positioned pretty well.
Wonderful. So if they want your products, they want your services for your business-to-business services, How do they reach out to you, Michelle, or?
That would be awesome. My phone number is 406-467-4705, and my email is michelle.d as in Donna, AHL @vision.net.
And the website?
Go ahead.
The website is www.vision.net.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much this morning. We appreciate your time, and please support VisionNet. See you next time.